All right, guys, what is up? So welcome to this video, web design business survival plan. I know it sounds a little bit dramatic, but I think, and maybe you do too, the next few weeks, the next few months might be a little bit choppy, and I wanted to put together a video with just some really essential advice. Now, this isn't a clickbait video. This isn't some crazy scenario video. This is just really good, proven business advice of what to do in times of maybe a recession, an economic slowdown, some sort of tricky patch where things are not going to be so good for a while, and you're trying to think, what do I do to keep the business surviving? What do I do to keep the business growing? And make sure that, basically you don't run out of money, you don't shut down the business, you don't run into any problems personally from your business having issues as well. So in this video, I'm going to give you some good advice, just straightforward things to do to keep your business healthy, strong, growing if there's a period of recession or downturn. Now, I'm not saying there is, who knows really what's going to happen, but this is just some good advice that is always something that you can use in any sort of tricky period with your business. So let's get into it straight away. These are things I've learned over the last few years, reading a lot of different books, and also I've been through 2 recessions myself. So when I finished university in Ireland, I studied construction. There's a massive construction recession in Ireland. Basically everything shut down, all the jobs were gone. So got through that situation. I moved to Canada. I worked in the oil industry, and then the oil industry in Canada a few years later also had a massive big recession. A lot of jobs lost, all these sort of things. So I've been through it twice already. I've had a good insight into what businesses succeed and grow in those times and what other businesses fail. And it's not necessarily the niche or the type of industry, although some industries are hit more than others, of course, but often it's the mindset of the business owner and the people in the business, what way they're thinking, what principles they're using, what strategies they have. Some of them definitely lead towards a way higher chance of failure, and other principles are proven to work really well during these periods to get you results. So that's what I'm hoping to share in this video, those good principles that can help you to just think strategically, have a good game plan so you're not panicking, and quite the opposite actually, that you're really on track and you're actually growing the business even though a lot of other people might be slowing down or shutting down. So let's get into it right away. The number one reason that businesses fail, a lot of people think maybe there's like hundreds of different reasons that businesses fail. Proven number one reason, you can just Google this straight away if you want, that businesses fail. So number one reason they fail, it's lack of capital. So basically the business runs out of new income into the business, they run out of current income, and they basically reach a point where their business costs more to run than the money they're making, and it basically starts to fail. They run out of savings, they run out of cash flow, they're not generating enough new sales, and over time the business just can't survive. It's got nothing in the business to keep it running. And when it gets to that point, even if it was possible to kind of get back out of it, if they don't have the funds to get through this period, it's going to fail, and it does fail. So this is proven through however many years of businesses. This is the number one reason that businesses fail: lack of capital. Now, where does that come from? Capital in your business, there's basically 2 main sources, which is your current clients, your current customers, whatever you want to call it, and new sales. So basically, in a period where things are slowing down, where it's getting tougher, these are the things you got to focus on: current clients and new sales. And if there's one that's more important than the other, it's this. When things are getting tough, you got to be thinking strategically, and we'll get into this in a few seconds. More sales, more customers, new clients. You got to take an aggressive approach to getting new sales. If you go on the defensive, things start to shut down, and it very quickly does not get into something, a good situation. I'll basically show you the difference to illustrate what I'm saying there, but people who go on the defensive in these sort of situations, it just can't work out well, and we'll look at why, so you guys see the logic. So, sorry, So a defensive approach basically is this, and you'll see a lot of people do this in a recession. It seems to make sense in the beginning, but it's not a good idea. So let's say this is like month 0, month 1, month 2, month 3, and it's just going to continue on. So this is the first month, let's say, that things go bad, and this is the business's current cash flow situation. So they're making X amount of dollars a month. So people who go on the defensive approach, their logic, and it kind of, you can see why it happens, that it kind of makes sense, is they're going to cut back on everything and they're just going to focus on what they think is like the defensive essential stuff. So they might cut their team. So maybe they're hiring other people or they have stuff they outsource or whatever. They're going to cut the team to save on expenses. Maybe they're doing some form of advertising, let's say, so just ads. They're doing some form of marketing. Maybe they're paying for access to a networking event or something like this. They cut back on that also, and they basically go through all of their expenses, and anything that's not super essential, they cut. They cut back on staff, they cut back on advertising, they cut back on outbound marketing, and they get, almost like if you picture this mental picture of like a castle under siege, they basically lock down the business, they look at what's in the business right now, and they just try and secure everything, and they're not making any offensive or big actions towards getting new sales. They're rather just like trying to hold on to what they have. So in the short term, profits increase a little bit because when you get rid of the expenses, you're going to have this bigger margin where it seems like you're making more money. In the short term, there's a little bit of a win. But what happens over time is without anything new coming into the business, new sales, new customers, new clients, their current customers, their current clients, and this goes, double, triple in a recession, those people also start getting into defensive positions. They also don't want to spend money on ads, on extra services, on extra things. So their current cash flow, which is made up of pretty much all their current clients, starts to slowly drop. And it starts to compoundingly drop because over time, they're not bringing in new sales. They're not focused on these activities. So it just starts to drop faster and faster because they're not reinvesting back into the business. They think it's best in the short term to just take out as much profit as they can right now because they feel like if I have the money in my pocket, in my own personal bank account and not in the business, it's more secure. I might need this money. So they get into this fear mindset. They take all the reinvestment out of the business in the beginning in these first 1 or 2 months. But then the business doesn't have fuel to survive, to get new sales, to get new customers, to go up against this tougher period, and it just starts to compoundingly go worse and worse. And then around here somewhere they might start to figure it out, but it's too late to turn the tide. The damage is kind of already done, and they're going to have this gap of new customers is nearly gone. Current customers are nearly gone. They don't have the new customers yet when they start to realize that that's what they actually needed, and they just hit this period where the business starts to fail. So with a web design business, this would mean that like you focus 100% on your recurring revenue, that you focus on your current clients. Nothing wrong with that, but that can't be your main focus in a trickier period. You want to take care of your current clients. We'll get into that in a second. You want to make sure that you continue your recurring revenue, but you got to do more than that because those numbers are only going to drop over time. If things are not in a good situation, or even in any situation, those numbers can only go one way by themselves. You have to be planning to sell more, to be more aggressive in the marketplace, to basically get very strategic with your actions and your focus and whatever you have in the business to make sure that you're pushing this way, so you're offsetting any sort of trend to go down, that you're pushing it even more upwards, so that overall, even if you don't get to your goals, at least you're keeping it level or you're increasing slightly. But if all you do is protect what you have and kind of bunker down and cut all your expenses, it can work in the very short term, but within a few months, within a few weeks, you'll start to see that the revenue in the business just starts to plummet because nothing is bringing in new sources of income into the business. So I think you guys get this by now, this point. So let's get into the better approach. So that's the defensive approach that doesn't work. The more aggressive approach, I don't know what to call it. I don't know if aggressive is the perfect word, or I'd say strategic maybe is a better word. So this person, they're thinking a little bit differently. And these are the people, any sort of recession, any sort of downturn, when things get tougher, there are certain people who thrive in that sort of scenario, whose businesses grow and grow. And it's because they're thinking in the exact opposite way. So everyone else is on the defensive. I would say 90% of people are on the defensive. The 10% of people who are thinking aggressive or strategic, these are the people who really take off in these sort of scenarios. And we'll see why in a second. So again, the same setup here. This is month number 1. Things kind of start going not so good. What do these people do? They basically look at their business, what they're doing in their business at the moment, and they start putting all their attention and all their assets and all their focus on the key activities. And the number one key activity is new sales. Hope you guys can read this, a little bit hard to write sideways. So new sales. So what they do is, instead of taking money out of the business and instead of going on the defensive, they start looking at where they're spending money that isn't maybe in an essential area, or where they're spending their time, or what things they're focusing on, and they start directing pretty much all of it, or as much as they can, into getting new sales. So in the beginning, they'll take like a little hit maybe, but over time what's happening is, because they're strategically focusing on new sales, they're going to get some new clients. And they're getting, let's say these are new people they're bringing on, this will make sense in a second. They're getting new clients, or they're focusing on this, and then they're going to lose some of their current clients, or their current clients hold back a little on what they're spending, whatever. So there's a little bit of a drop off there, just like the defensive people. But when you average these two things out, it generally stays even or it goes up. And in most of the cases, if done correctly, it will actually go up. Because everyone else is on the defensive, the people who are out there aggressively trying to get new sales in the marketplace. And I don't mean aggressively as in like spammy, or they're pushing people to buy, but just that they're doing a lot of sales activities and they're keeping that as their main focus as a business. So the trend there is that it will stay even, or that it will go up, and that it won't drop off like these defensive people. So again, web design, whatever business you guys are in, the thing that you got to be thinking right now is, how do I direct everything into sales? What do I do with sales to make it more effective, to put as much resources, energy, focus? If you have a team, how do you get your team in on sales? You got to get creative. There's a lot of different things you could be doing that maybe you currently aren't doing to improve your sales. So same for my business, same for anyone else right now. With a recession maybe coming, who knows? This is the number one thing that I'm thinking of. It's got to be focusing on sales and looking at what I have to use to put into this to make sure that this is getting the best results that it can. So it's almost like a sports team or something. You're in the game's getting tough. The last thing you want to do is start taking players off the field and sitting them on the bench and hoping that it just gets better. Instead, what you want to do is get players on there, do a little bit of defensive, sure, but put people on the offensive so that you're pushing towards, in terms of a business, you're pushing towards those sales, those new clients, those new customers. And I'll get into some of the things that you can do in a few seconds, some of the things that I'm doing right now. But this is a concept that you got to keep in mind. The worst thing you can do for your business right now is to, I'll try and save as much money as I can, and I'll just wait a few months and see what happens, and I'll just work with the current clients that I have, and I hope things get better. Because the only way that's going to go, in the beginning, okay, you save a little bit more money the first month or the second month, but over time, it's just going to drop. Because without any push in the marketplace, when it's tougher, there's only one way it can go. It's only going to go down over time. So you'll be okay the first month or two, but your business is heading in this direction. And depending on how long this thing's last, it might be longer than you have the reserves in your business for, and your business just runs out of steam, runs out of cash flow, and it hits this situation. So I hope this video doesn't sound too pessimistic or negative. It shouldn't. It's actually really easy to avoid this and to stay 100% positive. I feel great at the moment. It's because you got to have this approach that sales is what matters. Sales is what drives your business forwards. And without sales coming in, if you hold back on sales or you get distracted with other stuff, it's going to trend downwards. So number one thing is sales. So let's look at what we can do to work on our sales. And I'm going to go from kind of like a free to more like paid options down here. So let's just say improve sales. And these are things I'm doing right now as well. So this isn't stuff I'm recommending that I'm not even doing myself. This is 100% what I'm doing right now. So free options, because I know there's people who watch this channel with different budgets. Start just getting in tune with what's needed to sell, how selling works, the principles of selling, these sort of concepts. So free options, I mean, like good podcasts on selling and mindset and leadership. Same with YouTube channels. Same with forums. Maybe some free Facebook groups. I kind of stay out of them nowadays. I think they in general have gotten pretty spammy. I think these three things are probably like your return on time spent is going to be higher. Good podcasts. MFCEO, the MFCEO is one I highly recommend. Forums, the Fastlane forum, I post on there as Fox, that's my username if you guys want to tag me. That's a great forum, really, really good mindset. YouTube channels, I mean, my channel, I'm going to plug it here, subscribe, but there's other channels out there. Don't just think web design as well, think about sales, think about mindset, think about leadership. Those are the important things right now. So these are kind of the free options if you guys are on a budget. Some paid options, starting at the lower end, I would say get some real good sales books, and again, some good leadership books, mindset books. So, sorry, not sales, books. Books, maybe some like lower paid things like mastermind groups, these sort of things. I'm in one or two myself. Also, if you can afford it, coaching. I give coaching. If you guys are interested, you can hit me up. I'll put my email address below, but I get coaching as well, which is super useful. I mean, we'll get into it in a second, but one of the most important things is you got to have the skills, the skill of selling, but the mindset behind it as well. So if you're going to reinvest in anything right now, or switch up where you're spending money in your business, make sure that you're working on your mindset and you're working on your sales skills. So books, masterminds, coaching, any sort of sales program, that's good. I know there's a lot of stuff, dodgy ones out there, but a good sales program, good sales training is going to be useful as well. So sales training. I would say out of these two, coaching is probably better because you're going to get, in a situation like this, you don't just want like generic principles, which can be good, but you want like quick feedback on the situation as well. Ideally by someone who's been there before, who can give you immediate insight. So you want to be moving fast in a time like this. So coaching is one. I got my coaching call every Sunday. I jump on, I ask direct questions, I get direct responses, and immediately once that call ends, I can start putting it into action. Sales training and books are a little bit slower like that. I mean, the advice is great. I recommend those both, but it's going to take a little bit more time for it to soak in, for you to test the principles, see how to apply it. Coaching is going to have a more immediate feedback. Masterminds can be really, really good if you get around the right people in your niche or in similar niches who are focused, who are disciplined, who are taking bigger action. That's going to rub off on you. The opposite of this, just on this one point with masterminds, because it's like a positive influence. If you're around a lot of negative influence right now in a tricky situation, you're watching the news all the time, you're reading the newspapers, you're following these kind of like fear channels on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, that stuff's going to soak in as well. That's going to negatively impact your ability to take action, to lead yourself, to lead others, to sell, because you're in this fear mindset. So be careful of the influences you're around when you're in a situation that's not so good. In general, I mean, be careful, but particularly in a recession or something, people have a very fearful mindset. Some people, and they're promoting that, and you just want to avoid that stuff. So if you're on a paid low budget podcast, good podcast right now, forums, YouTube, paid options, some good sales, leadership books, a good mastermind is always something great. Coaching around the particular things that you're trying to improve, and sales training, sales courses, sales programs. So right now, I'm actually doing all of these things for myself, and I'm doing all these free things as well. So I'm basically ticking all these boxes. I've looked at the business and I'm directing everything into selling. It's the thing that makes the most sense right now. I know that if I'm not doing that it's only going to be a matter of time before things get tougher, things start to slow down, run out of cash flow, and then it's very hard to reinvest because now you need the money even more. So you get in this kind of downward spiral. To get things on a positive upward trajectory, now is the time to start looking at everything that's not critical in your business, that's not essential, that's just time wasted, and start directing it into sales actions, things that are going to help with sales, things that are going to help with your mindset, and make sure that you focus on that. Obviously, there's other things to do in the business. They can come later, but the thing that you need to prioritize right now is selling. Look after your current clients, finish your current projects, but make time to sell and make sure that you are selling, or you're going to run into some trouble. So hope that this is a useful video. I know it's a little bit different than my usual topic, but a lot of people are asking about this, and I just wanted to give some useful advice. Check out the links below. I'll post them. I'll do a weekly email from now on, a free email some good advice. So check that out below if you want to get on that newsletter. Any questions, as always, just let me know below. I'll answer as many as I can. I try to answer them all. And also, if you know someone who needs some help with this or is kind of feeling things right now, please feel free to recommend this channel or recommend this video. So that's it for this video. Catch you in the next video next week, and thanks for watching.